You've been staring at an empty chair. Sorry. Well, we get with the program. Welcome, everybody. What's up? They're starting soon. We started very soon. All right, we're up. Lessons/donate. Okay, we've got Astrobate here. I'm adjusting to my time difference, man. It's been tough. All right, let's see. What else can I do? Let me see something. Just want to try something for a second. Bluetooth. I want to check something. Astrobate, what's up? How are you? Welcome to our analysis stream. See if I can get my computer, my desktop, to see the Bluetooth with my phone. Add device. Let me try this again. What's up, everybody? Hello. Wait, Bluetooth and devices. Add device. Here's some things to do. On this device, turn on Bluetooth. Yeah, I'm trying to do that. Turn on Bluetooth. No. Turn on Bluey. Bluetooth. Checking for Bluetooth. Maybe I don't have Bluetooth. It's not available on this device. Great. So my desktop doesn't have Bluetooth? Oh no. Alright, whatever. Whatever. Alright. Anyway. What's up? Bluetooth Grandma. So, last we saw, Chess Riddle had donated a tier 3 sub, so that was very generous. Last night, I'm getting a challenge. Rated 5+3. Astrobate, from time to time, like many other players, I glance through my own games of earlier years and return to positions variations, which have gone out of practice. Very good idea. In chess, as in life, a man in his own. A man is his own. A man needs glasses. Alright. A man in his own is his most dangerous. A man is his own most dangerous opponent. I agree. Same applies. Alright, so Sicilian defense Myers attack with A4. Now, here's something that just popped up in my mind. This is Astrobate's game. E4, C5, A3. Sicilian defense Myers attack with A4. Now that made me remember something. There was this guy who lived, it sounds like a joke, who lived in New England, who was a big fan of unusual openings. Jack Young, he's still around somewhere. And he used to write a column called Bozo's Chess Emporium. But now that I think about it, he used to talk about this guy who had a zine or something, like on weird openings. I think the name was Hugh Myers. The Weedmaster would remember this very well. I think it was Hugh Myers, this guy who was like an expert at collecting information on unusual chest openings. So I assume that's this guy. He's got the Myers attack. Hugh Myers. Huge Myers. We had a follow from WW86. So, well, how bad can A4 be? How bad can A4 be? If Knight A3, I'll say if Knight A3 is a move, then A4 can't be so bad either. How bad can A4 be? It's not so bad. Just Riddle. Yearly Rapid in 10 minutes. Gang. I can't play chess 2 days in a row. We got our analysis stream, but I wish you the best of luck. Chess Riddle, and thanks again for the gift 3 sub. The tier 3 gift sub yesterday. A4 Astrobait. Let's take a look at this game. So we got Astrobait. Welcome, Chess Riddle. Good luck in said World Rapid. Yearly Rapid. Yearly Beloved. We are gathered here today to wish Chess Riddle his best luck. We've got Yefim Geller from Mr. Slow. And then Move 11 has, I believe, submitted the following game. I think it was Move 11. Somebody submitted this game. Erdogmus. Turkish names are funny. Adicha Mital against Erdogmus. And Nefidov, of course, with the game against Simon Smith. So we're going to start with Astrobait. Yeah, I can't play chess in my condition. I still haven't got over my jet lag. I don't feel like playing, but analysis is fine. So we got E4, C5, A4. This is your game, Astrobait. Let's see what you think here. So A4, what do we do? I want to take it central there. Can I, how do I delete that shit? It doesn't go away. Wait. How do you delete the arrow? There it goes. All right. So A4, yeah, he could follow up with something like Knight A3. But you kind of want to take it to the center. You could try to take it to him with D5 or just do your own thing. I think the D4 looks kind of weak. What's he going to do? Play C3? That's an awful lot of pawn moves. So the most common move here, Knight C6. Not anything special. Just a good move. And now C3. And that's the issue with White's position. That's the problem with A4, I think. See, you need to play something to control D4, and then you've played A4 as well. So it's like too many pawn moves. Too many pawn moves over here on the queen side. There's a lot of weak squares. It's obviously not fatal for White, but I don't see that we really want to mix together A4 and C3. So I doubt C3 is really a good move here. White should stick to a different plan. Maybe Knight A3, Bishop B5, Knight F3. Pretty much anything but C3, which looks kind of stupid. Alright, still it's not that bad. C3. And now Astrobait goes really aggressive with D5 in the center. And I think that's actually a good move too. So we simply have a C3 Sicilian where White has played A4. Proud of you, Astrobait. This looks very good. So he can't just give up his center for nothing. He either takes or plays D3. And he did neither of those things. The White, the bunny, the whiteness bunny. I'm just doing my hair. White is a chess bunny. Well, the chess bunny is quite dangerous, actually. You really need to be careful with that. Not to underestimate chess bunnies. This one. So, yeah, I should get some kind of animation. His best bet at this point is to play like D3. Sorry. Yaroslavl. I clicked away. So, I guess that's his best. He's got a really strange C3 Sicilian after this, where he's played A4 without any reason, rhyme or reason. So Queen E2, and now we just punk him in the center. Takes, and thank you for the tempo. Very good. Yes, perfectly played by Asterbate. And now white should place the queen in a sort of position where it's relatively safe. I would recommend either E2 or C2. He probably wants to get his bishop out. So, yeah, those arrows are hard to get rid of. Queen C2 is not great. There's no really good move here for white. Plays this, and that queen is going to be vulnerable to multitudes of threats. Knight A5, knight E5, bishop E6. This is very bad for white. E5, and that gives you this with the bishop behind the pawn, also very strong. You're crushing this guy. Now H3. Yeah, even the great late Michael Basman would disown this position for white. Basmania. No, Basman liked to play A3 and H3, not A4, E4, C3, and H3. This is really bad for white. H3, and here it looks like you're not as incisive as you probably should be. But what to do? You know, bishop E6 looks good. Looks a bit more aggressive than what you played. There's no solution for your Marazzi bishop. I mean, this bishop is never going to be really that active, but you do want a castle. So, okay. I think you could put it on D6. It would obstruct your queen. This is fine. And now, tangibly, what looks like a mouse slip. King D1. Asterbate, are you serious? Knight A5. Yeah, this is major bunny. From Bunnyville. Queen B5, bishop D7, Queen D3, C4. That closes the lines a little. Yep. Queen E3, castles, Queen E5. Oh no, you lost a pawn. Asterbate lost a pawn. I like Rook E8, completing development. Plays this. Rook A3, you grab the rook. Okay. And now a pawn. And that's nasty. Yeah, Asterbate, I'm thinking, like, what's your center pawn loss going to be like on this one? This is why we got this submission today. Asterbate center pawn loss very low in this game. King C2, now knight D4 check, Queen B6 check. Now he has Queen B5, he misses it, check, and mate. Well, that was a really tasty miniature. Someone else here, Chess Riddle was here. We had 10 viewers. But nothing to say about this game. This was a very easy game. Yeah, but anyway, Asterbate, let's just see. Like, you had a very low center pawn loss. I'm going to guess, like, 12 or something like that. Let's see, Asterbate, what's your... This is an 18-move game. I guessed 12 center pawn loss. I was probably a little high. I might have been a little high. I got 11. Oh, I'm close. It was 10. I was very close. 0 inaccuracy, 0 mistakes, 0 blunders. 10 center pawn loss. 98% accuracy, Asterbate. It's a sure sign you're improving. This guy was really weak, though. I think his rating should be like 500. What sort of drugs was he taking? If he's 1574. Alright, next up, we're going to the World Senior on Monday. We're going to start the World Senior Championship 50 plus on Tuesday. And I'm not getting any younger. This is my 4th attempt to win the World Senior Championship. But we're going to do better this year. We've got Mr. Slow. We'll save his game in case he might be coming by. So I'm going to go on to... again, I think this was given to me by Move 11. I think he did send me this game. I have no idea where this is from, but I assume it's like the Grand Chess Swiss. The yearly Grand Chess Swiss. Alright. So these are, I don't know, Erdogmus is a very well-known player because he's a record holder for like one of the youngest Grandmasters ever. At 12, what is it, 12 years, 4 months, or... He may be the world record holder, I'm not sure, for the youngest GM ever. The other guy, just some random, Indian Grandmaster. So now we have, I guess we need to look at this from Black's perspective. Let's see. Erdogmus is the more famous player. So Black, I've never seen any of his games. Do we not guess the ELO on some of these? Oh, well. Yeah, this isn't really a typical situation for that. That's a good idea, though. That's a good suggestion. But this is an unusual submission. I don't normally get people sending me GM games. So I don't know. I don't know for sure. I guess this is from the World Open. No, the Grand Swiss, which took place a couple of weeks ago. Although it could be from anywhere. It could be from the Turkish Team Championship for all I know. Yeah, that's a good suggestion, Chess Riddle. Now you tell me. To guess the raid and guess the ELO while the ELOs are like posted right on the board. It's a little late for that one, huh? Yeah, guess the ELO on the last one would have been good. We never did that here. Whew, man, my coffee's just not kicking in. I need some, like, cocaine or something. Oh, we got a Hungarian subscribed. Andras István Zayats. Thanks for subscribing on video chess training on YouTube, because I don't pay too much attention to the YouTube. But thanks for subscribing over there. I normally put our focus on Twitch. The YouTube is just kind of like a new thing. I need to put a little more effort in there. Let me like that over there. Yeah, thanks for subscribing. So I want to fix our YouTube channel so it looks better. The screen is too narrow, but you can still see the board and hear me, and that's the important thing. Yeah. So anyway, guessing the ELO would be cool, but let's take a look at what this young player does here with Black. So c4, Black plays e6. By the way, White is almost 2600. Black, again, one of the youngest Grandmasters in history. Top four. I don't know exactly who's the youngest. Karyakin, Leiko. The first it was like Leiko, then it was Karyakin. Then there was, then there was a couple younger players. I don't think it really matters, to be honest, who's the youngest Grandmaster by a matter of days. c4, e6, knight c3, and now, the problem with White, if you play the English, is that, you can't really get around, you can't avoid the Queen's Gambit, basically. So, if Black wants to play a Queen's Gambit, you get a Queen's Gambit. Or White can play the ready. If White wants to play the ready, he can play the ready. But once White commits to playing knight c3, he can't allow Black to run him down with d5, d4. So knight c3, you're going to have to follow up with either d4 or e3. Never allow Black to play d5, d4 with a knight on c3. Right, Acerbate? Be like a bad Sicilian. So once White plays knight c3, we're going to see a Queen's Gambit. Black plays d5. I was going to make one other suggestion. Sometimes people play e4. That transposes to either a Sicilian or exchange French. Neither of which is really dangerous for Black. Anyway, knight c3, d5. This happened a lot of times in games, the games of Karpov, Kasparov, Korchnoi. Karpov, Korchnoi, for example, Korchnoi, Karpov. Some Queen's Gambits probably started with this move order back in the 80s, or late 70s, and early 80s. So anyway, white plays d4, and now black takes on c4. So this isn't exactly a Queen's Gambit accepted. It's something of kind of a hybrid between Queen's Gambit accepted, Queen's Gambit declined. It's very likely to transpose to a Queen's Gambit accepted, though, depending on what white does now. The best move for white here, either e4, knight f3, or e3. Those are his only real good options. Queen a4 check, for example, knight c6 would be possible, attacking the d4 pawn. So this guy plays a very aggressive move. He plays e4, and that's probably the sharpest, I would say. So what about this pawn on d4? I mean, we don't really have much counterplay. Just the queen is attacking d4. So knight f6... Knight f6 is playable. Bishop takes c4. And then something like bishop b4, maybe. But this seems to be the most reliable move, I guess, c5. So immediately I said, how do we put pressure on d4? Immediately putting pressure on the d4 pawn. And so white has to push or play knight f3. Two completely different style moves. If you push, you get a Benoni kind of structure, which is like a c. We transpose to a c5, e4, c5 variation of the open, or rather accepted Queen's Gambit accepted. If white plays knight f3, it's much more solid. He's counting on getting this pawn back on c4. So this is really aggressive play by the young dude. They're both young. Actually, I don't know how young this guy is. The young dude is black. Okay. So e takes d5 now. I wouldn't assume e takes d5 is forced. Black can play knight f6 here. Definitely. So he decides to play e takes d5. Now which way does white take back? With the pawn or with the knight? Queen takes seems very strange. Pawn takes, kind of most fundamental and most aggressive. And now black plays bishop d6. He cannot really defend this pawn on c4. So we blockade the d6 square. We're surprised here by how few games there are, though. Vitek Kishandor, 1988. Fellow Hungarian. I'm an American who lives in Hungary. But why are there so few games from this position? Black has the option to play a6. It looks truly a little bit slow. And knight f6 is obviously a very natural move. But yeah, it's surprising how few games there are here. Knight f6. So he plays bishop d6. And this gives black the option to play either knight f6 or knight e7, depending on what white does. Bishop takes c4. Yeah, and so now, in my experience, which is very limited, including like one game where I played this type of position, I got into a pretty nasty pin with that bishop on g5 against Michal Oliver some years ago, quite a few years ago, once. So there's a feel of this position now. It's a Queen's Gambit accepted, but it feels more like an exchange French. That open file, the open E file, and this is a common like development in exchange French. Knight on E7, so that we can meet bishop G5 with F6, if necessary. Doth not feel so good. Astrobate, what are you referring to? Doth not feel so good. Thank you for the subscription on YouTube. I like the setup for black. It looks pretty solid. Now, white plays h3, which, frankly looks really slow. A normal idea, perhaps, to stop bishop g4, but I mean, I don't know. Does black even want to play bishop g4 in this type of position? Black has no control of the e4 square, for example. I mean, can that happen at some point? Like molesting our bishop on d6? Because we don't have a knight on f6. Here's the downside of knight e7. White can just move that knight to e4 and attack our bishop at d6 at any moment, which is important because it's the blockader. I don't think this move is necessary, I guess he figures at some point maybe h2 will come under attack. It'll save him a tempo. But it does look a little odd. Castles. Now knight f3. So ostensibly what white was doing here was like avoiding possible pins with bishop g4. But I think frankly that's oftentimes like not that dangerous anyway. If you take this position for example, just even if black could play bishop g4 without losing a piece, white could just unpin himself by playing like queen d3. I don't think that the pin with bishop g4 is very dangerous. Alright. So now black plays knight d7. White castles. And I'm expecting black to play a6 at some point. He doesn't do it. I also would expect knight here. So if knight f6, bishop g5, knight g6, and then something of the like sort of maybe knight h4, perhaps, is a topical way to continue. But this guy goes knight b6. Now the problem with this move is that the knight isn't really well placed on b6, usually. But in this particular instance, he's going to win the d5 pawn, unless white plays the following, which is b3. So this is pretty clear now. That bishop he's willing to give up. He has most of his pawns on white squares. Black just simply takes. It's, again, like if you look at white's position, I think that the giving up of the bishop for the knight in some sense is valid. He has good control of the light squares. He has some space advantage. How bad can it be? So far this game looks solid for black, but pretty random. Knight to g6 now. One thing that black did achieve there was trading pieces. And in whatever kind of exchange we're talking about, I think when you have less space, almost any relative equal exchanges are a good thing. You're not as cramped. This is basically a Benoni in terms of pawn structure. So black is more than happy to swap a set of pieces. Black has the bishop pair. Black has, let's say, the better pawn structure in terms of 2 islands versus 3. But white still does have a spatial advantage. And see, he does play knight e4, which I was concerned about earlier. That's the counter effect of not having a knight on f6. So now he's starting to challenge our bishop on d6. Black plays bishop f5. He takes. So we get a very interesting position. Although a lot of people would say this isn't interesting, it's kind of boring, a lot of pieces got exchanged or whatever. But no, actually it is interesting because there's a lot of imbalance here already after just like 14 moves. Number one, there's an imbalance in the pawn structure. And number two, we have opposite color bishops with a lot of pieces still on the board. But white has made more pawn moves than black. So I would say maybe white is a little bit more overextended. Still, it's minor, the important thing in such positions is to attack on your respective color. So black wants to attack on the white squares, and white wants to attack on the dark squares. Primarily, this diagonal is black going to have to play f6 at some point to guard that diagonal, let's say. Now queen b3, simple move, attacking b7, b6 defends. Now a4, obvious move. I talked about pawn structure, 3 islands versus 2. If black has to face a5, then that goes out the window, and white equalizes the pawn structure in terms of islands. You guys know what I'm talking about. So here's a really important moment for black. He's played very, very safely. I also want to point out that a4 isn't just about playing a5. It's also like he's preventing black from playing b5. Because if you go back a couple moves here, we could ask the question, because this pawn is relatively weak if you take away its defender at c4. You know, this idea that black could undermine white's center by playing b5 has to be reckoned with. You might even argue that a4 is a better move than queen b3 in some sense. Alright, so queen b3, b6, a4, and now we're going to see a surprising move in a way. So Kvalchenbach 7 has followed. Why is that that's sort of familiar to me, Kvalchenbach. Alright. Anyway, a4, if you allow a5, white has really made some progress. But, I mean, this looks very controversial. So, I would say the first risky move, in a sense, a kind of risky move by black. He weakens his b6 pawn in order to prevent white from trading off the isolated pawn and breaking up the pawn structure. So now the game's getting even more imbalanced. Rook e1. And notice that white can't play rook b1 to up the pressure on b6. He plays rook e1, rook e8. And now, I think a weird move, in a way, bishop e3. Now, it's hard to say what you should do with that bishop, but I mean, obviously we like the long diagonal. So I'm going to ask a rather obvious question here. Why did white not play bishop e2? And I think we can come up with some answers. Hold on a second. So here, bishop e3. Why does white not play the bishop, say, you know, the long diagonal? Or some other move? Well, he wants to connect the rooks. There's another problem, and it comes up in the game. Black has superior control of e4. The center is the most important thing after king's safety and material. So if he goes here, let's say, where the bishop would have more flexibility to kind of play both ways, because I really would like to put that bishop on the long diagonal at some point. On e3, it can't do that. It's like on e3, it's very sort of awkwardly placed. It does nothing here. It just gets in the way. You know, I feel like d2 is actually a better square. But the problem is, I think he wants to be able to pull the knight back to d2. So this is the kind of thing that these guys are thinking here. I'm trying to explain to you guys who are amateurs how grandmasters are going to approach this position. He wants to play bishop b2. It's a better square, but if you play bishop b2, black could have access to f4. This looks kind of dangerous. It may not in fact work because of bishop e5. Which makes me question our decision here altogether to play bishop e3. If knight f4 is not a threat, I would play bishop b2 with the idea of forcing black to weaken himself on the long diagonal. If I can force black to play f6, I think that helps us a little bit. So, yeah, I don't like bishop e3. Though it's not easy to say how black can really menace white here. Bishop e4, knight d2. He plays a waiting move, h6. The only thing I'll say about h6 is that it's a slight weakening. And probably we don't want to play f6 and h6, but even that is probably not so bad. This is a very safe enough pawn move. Now rook a2. With the idea of rook b2. Now the rooks are unconnected or disconnected. Bishop e4, obviously knight d2. And now very interesting. Knight h4 comes in out of the blue. Wow. Suddenly black's attacking with just 3 pieces very quickly. And then this is very awkward. What the heck is white doing with that rook? Unprotected rook. Bishop takes c5. Okay, I'll be honest. I don't know. This could be a blitz game for all we know. I assumed it was a serious game, but I'm not sure. I don't have the actual info. Let's see what I do have. That's all I have. Let's see. So, queen g6. Threatening mate in 1. White probably overlooked this. g3. g4 loses a piece. Yeah, and now things get really weird. So, anyone in the right mind would expect b takes c now. Temporarily going up a piece. White has to play rook takes. I mean, this is a problem. This is covered. He doesn't have to play rook takes. He could play knight takes. This is covered by the queen. So, either way, white's position is very loose, having made so many pawn moves. But even just rook takes e4, rook takes e4, queen takes e4, pawn takes h4. And likely it's a draw because the material is equal and white's king is open, but I don't like this passed pawn on d5. You know, to be honest though, maybe white's lost anyway. I don't know. It's very close. It's a draw. All right. If it was black to move here, I would say he's probably winning. Because if it was black to move, you could play rook a6. In fact, maybe you should play that right away. So it takes. We don't take the pawn. You can play rook a6 now. Still not enough to win. There's a miracle here for white. h5. Preventing this deadly rook g6. So white's lucky in the most variations. You know, he's getting out of this alive. But the guy plays this move. This is really cool. Bishop d to g2. Threatening mate in 2, right? Somebody's been doing their tactics trainer. Bishop g2. And now we're expecting exchange of rooks. That doesn't happen. He plays that. So again, tactics trainer time. White has been flirting with disaster in this whole game, honestly. Playing very, loosely. White black just simply plays bishop takes h3, winning a pawn, further weakening the white king's defenses. Material is even, but white is pinned. He can't take on h4. Here, And then this crazy move, knight g2. This looks like a serious threat. Queen h5. Black to play is borderline deadly. I mean, white again, you know, finding really weird, fancy moves. Rook e5, guarding against said threat. I think that white is like pushing the boundaries of reality here. You know, how many like tactics can he string together before he comes crashing down to earth and he loses? White is too optimistic. F6, queen takes b6 again. Just happened to be pinning that guy, and now very beautiful move, knight f4. Defending his queen, defending the knight, defends the bishop on h3, maintaining threats of mate on g2, and white is just like, okay, what am I supposed to do now? My rook's hanging. Rook e4, and I guess now we get to the question. The rook is hanging. It's defended now. It's now attacking the knight, which is defending the bishop on h3. It's now black's turn. The move we expected before. Rook takes f4, bishop g4 check. And if king g2, he gets checkmated by queen h3. So he has to go to g1. Or no, actually, yeah. He doesn't get checkmated if he goes to g2. But let's see. Check here and rook takes is probably even better than the game. So he goes to g1, takes. White is up a pawn, but the white king is totally screwed. Rook a1, rook a e8, rook f1, and then bishop h3, and now obviously d6. And then rook e2, attacking another loose piece. And then rook h4, another Zwischenzug. So move 11, whoever submitted this game, they liked it because it had a lot of cool tactical Zwischenzugs. But I think the moral of the story here is that white is a reckless, very reckless player compared to black. And, you know, he's trying to do too much. He was trying to do too much. Very resourceful, but not enough to save him in this game. Queen b5, and now another good move. And so will d7 happen? And that's exactly what happens. So d7 happens. And now black allows white to get a second queen. But frankly, white's coordination is so awkward and his king is so exposed and black's king is so safe. The extra queen isn't enough to really make a difference. Rook takes d2. Now white could queen, but it's caught by that rook. Okay, queen b8 check. Here, queens, two queens. Never white had a real chance after a point in this game. He was just trying to string together lucky tactics. Eventually run out of gas. Queen takes f2 check. Oh, beautiful move. So he leaves white with two queens. Those two queens don't help too much. Obviously, rook f1 is mate, and now this is mate in 2. Check, here. Oh, it's actually more than mate in 2. It's mate in 3. Mate in 4. Check, here, and then mate. But it was all destined to happen. You know, that's the thing. It looks like a brilliancy, right? White was a freaking maniac. White was really a maniac. Where did it start? You know, where did it start? I mean, this move was awkward. You know, even h3. I have to go back to h3. All right, good game. That was a neat tactic, dude. Beautiful mate, though. Mate in 4. Easy to see. This is very easy to see. But I like it. Yeah, stylish finish. All right, so our dogmas. And then we're waiting on Mr. We're waiting on Mr. Never Here anymore. So all of my fans have all left me. We've got Nefyadov versus Simeon Smith. I'm going to get a glass of water. Guys, just hang on. That was a great game. Just hang on. Weird World of Wondrous. Warley Quinborn. Weird World of Walruses. Warley Quinborn. I play for Warley Quinborn. This is Pavel Nefyadov against Simeon Smith. We're going to hold out hope that Mr. Geller will show up today. But I'm not very optimistic, given that he's not here yet, and it's 7:30 already. All right, so we got Nefyadov versus Simeon Smith. Simon, just kidding. In Romanian, Semyon is Simon. Anyway, Stafford A, the A team. That includes Mr. T, Pavel Nefyadov. Alright, face. Remember that? A little bit A-team action. Alright, so Nefyadov is white, it's the Caro-Kann. So Nefyadov is old school and he plays like classical Caro-Kann. Knight C3, D takes C4, Knight C4. And now Simon Smith is going with the popular trendy Knight F6 move here. That's all the rage. Probably a million chessable courses, I would assume, on Knight F6. And Nefyadov is not one to play the sidelines. Knight G3. That's something we did see. Where did we see that? One of Mr. Slow's studies. It wasn't Geller, it was one of the previous masters playing Knight G3. I've experimented with Knight G5, but the best move is Knight takes F6. Oh yeah, the Alien Gambit. Well, no, I mean, I never intended to play the Alien Gambit. Yeah, that's trash. I raged on one guy. I just resigned when he played that against me. No, I'm not playing this to play some bullshit, P sacrifice that's unsound. Because it was published on a Lichess study, Nefyadov. I would just play this simply because it avoids exchanges of pieces. So I wouldn't do anything crazy. I mean, after H6, I'm just coming back. The Alien Gambit isn't an opening, okay? You're just playing for cheapos. This is not good. You played inspired by my game. Well, I never played it. I might have played it with black. So Knight F3. But Knight F3 is, it's sound. We don't have to do anything crazy. The idea of avoiding exchanges made sense. No, I mean, you should play Knight F3 if you do this. But I'm not sure that even H6 is a good move for black. Probably David Navarra knows what he's doing. Despite, his ravings about Kramnik and whatever, when it comes to like opening prep and stuff, I'm gonna go with Navarra. All right, so I think the computer actually likes C5. H6 is not necessary anyway. You know, it's like a kind of Potzer move. But anyway, knight takes f6 check. Okay, e takes f6 check. c3, securing your d4 pawn. But you know, these variations are hard to play. So black plays bishop d6, white plays bishop d3, black castles, and now you went queen c2. What I like to call the dumb end of the diagonal, the toothpick attack. You know, I mean, you do sidestep any potential pin, but the real idea behind this isn't really about attacking h7, I guess. It's very hard to take black out in these lines. And white has the ability to castle queenside and try to play very sharply. I'm not saying I recommend you should do it, but it does give white the option to do that. I would argue that, you know, probably the more traditional type moves here, like knight 92, you know, is fine. But here, now there's a new revolutionary idea. After rook e8 check, 92, you know, h5, it's not new anymore, but I mean, this was new like 10 years ago or whatever. And so this has really increased the popularity of this variation for black massively, because h5 is a vast improvement on the older more passive responses. They used to play g6, they used to play h6, and apparently even king h8 is a move, which I wasn't aware of. But yeah, so you're not fashionably late. You actually played a game with h5. You played white. Yeah, I mean, that's the proper move now. But this move, wow. Wow. I am fashionably unaware that this was a move. Wow. So it's near Halloween, and the children are giving Nefedov candy. I mean, depending on my opponent, if I didn't know this was a move, I guess I would still be kind of panicking. Because no one in their right mind plays this move without it being somewhat, you know, thought out. It's not like black just like didn't see that his pawn was hanging. I think that there's more to this than just grabbing the pawn or not. You can take the pawn, but there's another downside of f5, right? For black. You know, it would render his position a little bit less flexible than it normally would be. So I'm actually kind of surprised that no one here attempted castle. Because honestly, this doesn't look that bad for white. I guess black has a bunch of different moves. Queen h4. I mean, the nice thing about f5 is that it blocks his bishop on c8. The e4 square you can kick pieces out of e4 with f3. I mean, having played the white side of the Dutch millions of times, I feel like if I see this and someone plays f5, and even if I don't take the pawn, I would still feel like white's position is kind of fine. It's like not a bad Dutch for white, basically. But I suppose you have to be a little more concrete here. There is like queen h4 going like Marshall Gam style. I mean g3. I'm not sure it's so easy for white to take advantage of these squares. And we have good control of the dark squares. So I'm just saying, like, I suppose you could castle. Someone here also played bishop e3. With the idea of obviously castling queenside. But black took up the challenge, played f4. Bishop went back. Black played bishop g4. And now white played bishop takes h7 check. Again, if f3, probably queen h4 check. So this is kind of a concrete problem. I'm not sure I like this after f5. But I mean, obviously the bigger question is taking the pawn. So almost everyone took the pawn. There is one game with bishop d2 white actually lost. Knight a6, a typical idea in this variation, because this bishop is so important for white that you don't trade it off, even if you could like tremendously damage black's pawn structure. But anyways, so look at all these games. Saric, Esipenko, Gukesh played this back in 2019 when he wasn't even 2500 yet. The Dutch guy, Virik, Gukesh again played it. The Rahul guy. So this has been played a lot. Quite a few games. And all of them are like decent players. And almost everyone took the pawn. Yeah, so the question is, how much compensation does black really get here? What about white's king? Bishop takes f5. What exactly is black's plan? Bishop takes f5. Queen f5. And then what? Queen e7. We have bishop e3. So I'm also kind of gobsmacked that black has scored as well as they have here. I was also wondering if black could play perhaps something like c5. But I guess it just doesn't work. I mean, if you play c5... Well, I mean, if nothing else, we could simply play like bishop e3. And this is something to consider, you know, opening the position. White would have a lot of moves. You could play d5. You could play bishop e3. Everyone has played knight d7 here. I mean, queen e7 looks sort of stupid. This develops a piece. And now white has a losing score with the move bishop e3. Wow. No, so I'm going to make the educated guess that this variation f5 was invented by a computer. Being that its first outing was 2016, actually, I don't know who Peter Batchelor is, but sounds like someone from Nefedov's club. But Mate Bagi drew 2016 January, probably, I have no idea where that was. And then Yesipenko playing it, I would assume is found by a computer. So 97, how much compensation does black really have here? So bishop e3 has a much worse score than queen f3. White is 3.5 out of 4 here. It's kind of like playing the Marshall with a lot less pieces on the board or something like that. Queen h4. So Richard Pert managed to draw. So white ends up having to play bishop e3 anyway in this situation. Apparently. Although, you know, you could ask the question, what would happen if, like, h3, for example, I guess rook e6 is your answer. And it starts to look a little scary. Because white has these lifts here. So honestly, h3 looks pretty freaking slow. But, you know, still, it's a conception. Bishop e3 anyway, and then knight b6. And Zelchich actually managed to win a game by playing g3 of all things, which is kind of counterintuitive. Because white, you know, the last thing white needs is like more pawns on dark squares. But this is exactly what he did here. Why would black not play queen h3, by the way? Gotta ask the question. This Anthony Kozak guy, he played this queen back to e7, but wouldn't this be a bit more logical to put the queen on h3? It's like more active there, playing the right color. I don't necessarily really get it. You know, why back here? He went on to lose the game. Zelchich, of all things, plays h4. I mean, that move wouldn't have even been possible if the guy had gone queen h3. That's very strange, you know? Queen h3 has to be the best move for black, and the guy loses. It turns out two relatively unknown GMs. Relatively unknown. Exactly. Yeah, but they all got it from Peter Batchelor. Some English FM or something. So, anyways, you played bishop e3 instead, which is the most common move. And now they all play knight b6. Yeah, it looks like Osipenko was like the second one to play it after that first Boggy game. I have no idea where Boggy would have played Peter Batchelor in 2016. Could have been European, some sort of European championship. Boggy doesn't play much, except in maybe like the Hungarian Team Championship and the Budapest Spring Open. He kind of protects his rating. Not an active player, really. Black plays knight b6 here. I guess that's against castling queenside. If you're going to castle kingside, then maybe knight f6 makes no sense. But either way, it could go to d5. I think this is primarily aimed at you know, white going long. But it's possible that white, I mean, black could have other moves here. You know, you could play maybe a5 or... What do you think the engine's going to say? a5 is the fifth best move. Rook e6 is interesting. The move I was talking about a minute ago. So computer agrees with knight b6. And interestingly enough, that's the original game from 2016. Every single player except for your opponent. Ruchess is rating with a party of 21. Long time no see. Ruchess 27. Nice to see you. I remember your days of playing in the COVID era team tournaments on Lichess. Thanks for rating. And guys, check out Ruchess 27. I haven't seen her streaming. Maybe I just haven't been streaming. So that's why. Thank you very much. So she's a very nice streamer. And years ago, during the pandemic, we would have these like 3-0 team tournaments, and she was playing a lot of those. So all right, we've got a neat position here. Your opponent plays a novelty, knight f6, and that's actually a perfectly normal move. Okay, what's the problem with knight f6? It blocks the queen. Really. Thanks again, Root Chess. Guys, check her out. Very nice streamer and a good player. What are we going to do? So you're out of book. He's apparently out of book. But it's still not a bad move for black. The knight goes to d5, most likely. Castle's kingside. So here Nefedov has to consider the scary castle queenside. You know, one thing, anyway, queen a5 wouldn't be available. But I feel like that's really the only argument for knight b6, that it blocks the queen if it goes to f6. And on the other hand, this might be threatening to go to the other side. How scary is this? I would say it's pretty scary. You know, I mean, if you castle queenside, the knight comes to c4. How are you getting it out of there? You know? Like, no. It basically prevents white from castling queenside. So Nefedov, you could castle queenside here. It's not the safest thing to do. So Nefedov castles kingside, much safer than queenside. But still black has this like Marshall-like positional compensation. Because all of your pawns, well, 5 out of 7 pawns are on the wrong color. And I say Marshall because you have the same dynamic with the bishop on d6, white bishop on e3, pawns on the dark squares. The light squares are weaker, just like in the Marshall. Black would stick a knight on d5 and go like b5 or whatever. Very similar in motif. Knight d5, and we transpose back to the original game, Boggy versus this guy. Yeah, I mean, we would expect now queen f3. Obviously, Boggy was on his own because this has never been played before. So he's like, what the heck is going on, too? You know, he couldn't have expected this. It literally had never been played in 2016. It's all apparently like computer. Black has like half a pawn compensation, let's say. Probably 0.5. Even less, apparently. So I guess I like queen f3 better because it's you know, less weakening. So you played a new move here. Mate plays knight g3. Black played g6. White plays queen f3. Now he takes. And after f takes, we're threatening f7, so black plays f5. And this game would be repeated in 2020. White can't gain control of e4. How does Pop Misha win here? Spike played bishop takes g3, but you have to wonder, why would you play? Why would anyone play bishop takes g3 here? You can always play bishop takes g3 if white plays e4. Why would you play it voluntarily? It seems like a very strange thing to do, but I guess black was content that he would hold a draw, a pawn down, and he still lost. Okay, so rook a e1 from Nefedov. Nefedov with the theoretical novelty. Neat. And so, for example, if rook takes e3, pawn takes e3, and he takes, we're on f7, our good old friend. The f7 pawn. This is an interesting move, Pavel. You've come up with a novelty. Now we can still do what the original game, you know, saw, like g6, queen f3, f5, or maybe takes, and then f5. Now knight g3 transposes. to pop Misha. But your opponent decided to play queen c7, which attacks h2 and defends the f7 pawn. So that makes a lot of sense. We can't afford to give up that e3 anymore. So you have to consider, whether you want to lose your h3 or lose your e3 pawn. And you said, I don't want to lose either. But you've got to watch this rook e6. So are you telling me that the guy has rook e6? That's what he did. So you're actually potentially going right into this. GM Smurfette, thank you for stating the obvious. Always starting with the title. Testing my titles out. See how they sound. Oh no, Mr. Slow is too sick. Oh no. The COVID hits very... Oh no, Mr. Slow got COVID. Oh no. Oh man, everybody at the World Senior is going to have COVID. That's great, a lot of seniors in the room with COVID. Queen h3, I think there's going to be heavy masking involved. So queen h3 here. Well, we'll ask one obvious question. Should he take first? I mean, that's something that we have to very seriously consider. Right? Take first and then play rook e6. You have knight moves. But it looks kind of complicated, honestly. If knight g3, rook h6. Maybe you can get away with something like here. Oh man. Rook takes h2. That's kind of annoying. And if you go here, then rook g6. So he can almost perpetually, annoy you here. But maybe his move is still fine. Rook e6 right away. But I mean, no, there's a question, right? No, you have bishop d2. Double rooks. That looks problematic. That's what happened. Oh no. So maybe this is important. So he allows you to try to pull off this maneuver where you go there. And then all the rooks get swapped on the e-file. Black doesn't have enough compensation for the sacrificed pawn. No, I'm serious about this. Knight takes e3. Should he go for this? The computer thinks it's better than what he did. There's another very strange move, queen a5, which I would say is hard to find. I would take, and I think this is an improved version of the game. Okay, there is knight f4. I saw this. I didn't think it was a big deal, but let's take a look. It is a big deal. Oh shit. Well, no. Apparently, it's still okay. Take. You're a bit better, right? Queen here, threatening mate, and the b7 pawn. h6. If you take on b7, rook b8. Oh, he's lucky he has that. Nefedov would have had to agree to another draw. Most likely. But black goes bishop e6. Sorry, rook e6 first. Bishop d2. Double. Knight g3. And so apparently rook e1 is bad. Well, that's the problem, right? With sacrificing pawns, like I did 2 weeks ago. You can't go into an endgame because you're down a pawn. Why do I lose this game? Because I'm down a pawn in the endgame. Because I'm an idiot. So if you sacrifice a pawn, you play a gambit, you can't just be like trading down. But anyway, why does he trade down? Because you're doubled on the file. There's no reason black has to make the exchange on e1 here. Well, I guess he wanted to get his knight to f4, but what does it do, once all the rooks have been exchanged? So this position becomes a lot less dangerous when the rooks leave the board. Suddenly, it's a way more simplified position. And black also has to watch the back rank, because he no longer has a rook on the back rank. That's why gambits are bad. The Smith-Morran. Smith-Morran can draw, if played well. Knight f4. And then, okay, like, where's his attack? I think Nefedov has this under control now. He's starting knight d3. I thought you would probably play queen f5 to head to e4. But you chose for queen g4, eyeing the g7. You can also pop back to home base, knight d3, and now Nefedov goes on the offensive with knight f5. Triple exclam. Nefedov not to be outdone here. Bishop f8. And now I'm expecting bishop d2. Knight h6 check doesn't seem to do anything. You could even play queen e2. That's what you did. Apparently it's a mistake. But I thought bishop d2. Okay, bishop d2 just gonna have problems with b2. Does it work? This apparently works, but it's very complex. Knight b2, bishop f4. So there's some kind of secret tactic here that even Nefedov didn't see. Pretty hard to spot a tactic Nefedov doesn't see. Knight h6 check, king h8, and now we have to look a move further. Damn. Wow. What the hell? I don't see it. Queen f5. But queen f5, knight takes e1. Knight takes f7, ching. No. Queen e4. Knight takes e1. Queen e8. Queen e7. Ching. Ching a bing. You see the tactic, I don't. Nefedov just stopped here, and I would have done the same. But apparently there's something better. What the heck is it? Chin beeling. Bean chilling. What the heck is the tactic? I don't see it. Oh, maybe just like bishop d2? No, queen f5 works? Why, though? How? Okay, well, anyway, I need to see it, alright? Queen f5, knight takes e1. What is it? How does that work? The knight is trapped. Oh, man. So, like, the knight is trapped, you just go away and gulp? Or what? You just gulp this knight? Big gulp? There's even better. Oh, knight g5. Oh my god. So this is even better. That's actually threatening mate in one. I don't know if I would have seen it. If I was in the right frame of mind. See, this is why you have to be patient. If you're even a little bit impatient, you're not going to see this. Yeah. So knight h6 is easy to see, but the problem is the continuation after king h8. Nefedov might have even seen this, but he didn't see, the slow. Well, there's another line here, right? Queen f5. G takes h. Queen takes e3. Well, this is good. We probably saw this. We saw this, but we didn't see the other line. That's what happened. So he played queen e2. And so now we have a tentacle endgame. I mean, this is a torturous endgame. White is a pawn up. This is what we were looking for. The whole game. We're happy to get here. But black still has good chances to maybe draw. Well, I mean, some chances. Now he finds queen a5. And Nefedov with a very awkward move now. I don't know, man. I know that I also don't like a3, but I mean, queen b1. Can we really win the game with our queen on b1? I have some serious questions. But I guess it doesn't do any permanent damage. I don't think we're going to be able to win this game with our queen on b1. I'm just saying, just for sake of information. I think you might as well just play a3 because I can't imagine our queen staying on b1 for very long. Bishop d6. That's a mistake. Oh no, he just did that. This is terrible impatient play by black. Yeah, the only thing he has, I mean, he has a bishop versus knight, and all of his pawns are on the right color. And all of your pawns are on, you know, the same color as his bishop, or a lot of your pawns are on the same color as his bishop, and the a3 would have been another one, too. So, I think that's some compensation. Yeah, letting you trade your knight for his bishop is a very dumb idea. Knight c4, queen c7, bishop d6, queen d6, knight d6, whatever. Alright, now your queen is... I told you it wouldn't be on b1 for long. But I mean, this is the biggest mistake in the game. This is why we don't sacrifice a pawn and then trade pieces again. Boom. This is something I would do. And now, yeah, the tough guy plays queen e4. Wow, that was a tough one to find. That's a nice bass you got there. Queen on e4. Oh, you don't say. Alright. Yeah, he didn't want to trade queens with king g7. f3, dubious. Poor Nefedov. Computer is so harsh. Yeah, nice queen. Even stronger. Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't play g3 here. Okay, your h-pawn is defended. You actually don't need to do anything. Except pay taxes and die. Though Nefedov's next move is a bit surprising. He played b4. He didn't like c4, queen a5. c4, queen a5. Ooh, threatening to enter at d2 and take the a2 pawn. So you played the ugly looking b4. But I have a question, seriously, is b4 a mistake? Because black can play b5 after b4. It looks strategically like a mistake. Pablo, you have a queenside majority, and if you play b4 and he plays b5, how are you gonna create a passed pawn? You know, instead of playing b4, you could have played a4. That actually looks pretty good. Why don't you play a4? Threatening to play b4 without black being able to play b5. That's the thing that you should have done. This is clearly bad because of b5, and I would be concerned that black can hold on. But after this, you prevent b5. Yeah, he could play a6 or something. But this is still better. Like b4, b5, a5, and I mean this pawn on a6 is a pretty serious weakness. a4 is definitely better than b4. But black doesn't play b5. Terrible. So all Nefedov has to do now is create a passed pawn. I would say c4. But first he guards his d4 pawn. This is probably a good move. Look how strong the queen is. Actually, both of his pieces. Maybe he goes back to h4, threatening to come in here. If you're a tough guy. Now he plays b5, okay. And now g3, stopping queen h4. Doesn't look so bad. Oh my god, the computer wants to play queen d5. Fuck. With a capital F. That looks like something I would allow in like an online blitz game, and then wonder why I didn't win. That b4. I told you should have played a4. Oh, the London system. My son comes to me the other day. He says, I started to like chess, Dad. This is like my curse, you know. I started to like chess, Dad. I've been watching these videos about the London system. I like, get out of here. So, b5. Yeah. This guy seriously has queen d5, and you can't win the king and pawning game. The London system is poisoning our children. I'm gonna like file like I don't know, some kind of like legal action. We should start like a civil action against the London system. I am banned. Yeah, right. My son calls him the glasses guy. I'm like, I hate the London system and I hate that guy. He has to watch it like in secret, in like a corner of his room where no one knows. I'll check the history on his computer. Harry Potter streams chess. The evil Harry Potter wannabe. Okay, no, this is a draw probably. No, I wouldn't be sure till I got there. White has a4 type ideas, but you can't break through. The point is a4, a6. And if you try to go in the other way, you know, he'll just create a force field with like f6 or whatever. It really is a draw. You can't say Levy in this chat, dude. No, I mean, Smurfette, what do you think? I'm not serious? That's one of the banned words in my chat. Try saying like, you know, the other evil chess site, or I'm very systematic. Okay, a5, c4. Nefedov got away with murder here. Queen h3. No, I just don't like the guy, you know, and I don't like his anything. No, I don't know him at all. I just dislike him. I dislike him. It's like, he makes me, he's like a disgusting version of Howard Stern or something. I don't know. I don't like his way of talking. He's like primitive and thinks he's really cool. You know, no, nothing personal. I don't mind Eric Rosen. I like Eric Rosen's fine. But both of them are promoting trash, you know, in the first place. And I don't like Harry Potter's personality, you know. Eric Rosen is a nice guy, but he plays and promotes garbage. The other one is kind of a dick, you know, that's all. Nothing personal. Just a dick in general. Oh yeah, a wet greasy rat. Ew. So queen e2, queen d7, and now yeah, wet greasy rats are much more appealing. Well, I just don't think he's like a really authentic player either, to be honest. I have questions about how he's even an IM, but What do I know? Um, Queen e5, Queen h3, Queen e2. Nefedov's not making progress. But I'm not here to get involved in this kind of gossip. No, I just don't like some. A lot of people I don't like, and I'm honest about it. See, that's what I hate about some people. They like, oh my God, they would never say they don't like someone, right? Oh my God. It's like, I'm not going to pretend that I like people. That's so fake. If I don't like someone, I'm honest about it. So it's not, you don't have to like everyone. I hate people that like everyone. It's totally fake. That's the way. Honestly, I don't mean to bash him, but let's say Eric Rosen. He's kind of like that. He likes everybody, but that's not real. You can't be nice and like everyone all the time. It's impossible. You know. So, all right. Queen e2, b takes c4 check, king takes c4, queen c8. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Well, people ask me, I don't like his brand, and I don't like, he seems fake to me. And he's cocky and arrogant without any justification. King b3, queen f5, queen e4, queen b5. This is a tough endgame to win when you don't have a passed pawn. And your king is exposed to a lot of checks. The enemy within. Well, I mean, there are legitimate questions about why you dislike people. It's one thing, it's bad if you're like a racist or something. But if you dislike them for personal reasons that have justification, then that's your prerogative, I dislike the guy because of his personality, not for any, like, religious or racial reasons or anything like that, or because he's ugly, I just dislike him because of his personality and the way he presents himself. That's all. Anyway, that's enough ranting on that. Queen b5, a4. Now we're going to get our queenside going. Queen a6. What about counterplay for black? Oof. This is like playing against the grandmaster for black. I didn't realize this was such a long endgame grind. It's over now. Wow, I thought it was over, and when you think it's over and he has queen b6, oh no. Now Nefedov might allow a perpetual check. Is this even winning? The web ferret. The enemy without. Harry Potter plays chess. Queen takes d4. He wasn't a particularly strong player, and he suddenly got his IM title and became a chess streamer. I think that's kind of suspicious, I'm sure his games were dubious. I have no idea. But I think one of his buddies was like organizing tournaments in New York City. I don't even want to know. I don't know. I don't know anything specific. I just know, when things don't seem right, they're usually not. I had to work pretty hard to get the IM title. Now I suck. I'm just trying to stay like FM strength at this point. Queen c4, queen d1 check, king b4, queen d6 check, king b3. It looks like a very inexplicable thing happens now. So black, an equally rated player, he just made you repeat moves, and now he doesn't repeat moves again. So he basically like slipped. Nefedov slipped him $100 under the table. Speaking of fixed games, and his opponent voluntarily played queen f6 now. Oh. Never trust an eel. Looks like an eel, smells like an eel, it's probably an eel. Queen f6. Well, why would he do that? Like, what is he playing for a win? He forgot he just repeated moves? Damn, that's weird. Would Nefedov even be able to try to play for a win here? After queen d1 check? Can you even really do anything? I think it's just a dead draw. Oh, queen f4 is a nice idea. Yeah, of course you can play queen f4, but he can still try for a perpetual check. He can't trade queens. But it's hard to understand. I guess just time pressure and the guy just like panicked or something like that. And he forgot how to repeat moves. This prevents any checks. Now queen f4, queen e6 check, king b4, queen e1 check. He doesn't play queen e1 check. Apparently it's not so good. This is strange that he doesn't check at all. Queen d7. It's still not easy. Nefedov tries to corner his own king. That's not making progress, Nefedov. He misses queen d8 check. This is hard to miss queen d8 check. Even I would find that. Nefedov just simply has to go back or he gets mated on b6. So I think it was just a matter of like a player like just panicking. He just really fully panicked. I mean, queen f6 is good too. Well, if you can take that, it's over. Because you're on f7. So he's going to take on g3. He doesn't take on g3. He does not even take on g3. Well, it's over. Yeah. Well, I just did this Larsen Spassky game from 1964. And, I mean, especially today with players like Carlsen, who win so many games like Nefedov did here, where you could say, well, yeah, the guy was drawing. It was a draw. He should have got a draw. Nefedov swindled him. He blundered, whatever. But the point is, like, Nefedov did have the upper hand the whole game and put pressure on him. And eventually the guy, he got tired. And you know, became impatient or frustrated or whatever and blundered. So not a bad game. Mr. Slow has got COVID. That's not the end of the game, by the way. But it's a winning position now. F7 is hanging. So we got it. We got it for sure here. I mean, stalemate is not happening. Now he actually lost all of his pawns. Looks like he's going to lose all of his pawns. Oh, that one went with check too. If king f8, Nefedov doesn't take the pawn with check. Yeah, but better guard against stalemates, Nefedov. Nefedov risking taking the h5 pawn now. Don't put your queen on g6. No, this is great. If the guy goes king h8, that's illegal. Okay. Yeah, he's not going to give him a stalemate. Queen on g6, Nefedov. Actually, speaking of my son, he came to me with a stalemate question, you know, about winning with queen and king versus queen. I'm like, look, the only thing you have to worry about is stalemating. Nefedov with stunning technique here. Queen f8 blunder, allowing the trade of queens. All right, I've got this game from Geller versus Pano. This Mr. Slow. Mr. Slow is ill, unfortunately. What 401k? Haven't they all been like decimated? Private equity. So yeah, Trump will probably like invest like everyone's social security in crypto or something. And then one day everyone will wake up like no savings. It's all been like wiped out. when they pulled the rug out. Oh, sorry about your Social Security and your 401k. Geller versus Pano. And this is a submission from Mr. Slow, who was too ill, but he was nice enough to send me a message on Lichess. All right, guys. 2 days left on the donation bar. Hope I liked F5. No, I liked it. What's the computer say about that, by the way? Simeon Smith. So your guy, he's obviously studying Harry Potter's course on the Caro-Kann. Knight takes F6, takes here, F5. So F5 is the number 4 move of the engine. On the depth 35. You know, this game was played by Boggy's opponent in 2016. But that's when this variation started to become really popular. You know, so probably what happened was people weren't really playing this line at all for black. Then when the computer discovered H5, everybody started playing H5. And then subsequently, some dude, you know, this guy who played Boggy in 2016, he was like, oh, wait, the computer says you can play F5. I'm going to play that. That's my novelty. So now F5 exists. All right. Yeah, I mean, it's playable. It's just not as good as H5, probably. The nice thing about H5 is you don't have to sacrifice a pawn. Even better. I know about sacrificing pawns unnecessarily. I do it all the time. So, all right. I'm trying to lose, normally. Karaoke stream. Wow, great idea. Guess the ELO karaoke stream. This is Geller Pano, and it is from 1955. So Oscar Pano. I don't know Pano's life chess history, really. You know, he's an Argentine grandmaster. But unlike a lot of the players, you know, who are emigre, right? Oscar Roberto Pano. I mean, he was almost certainly like Argentinian. You know, he wasn't somebody who like emigrated to Argentina in 1937 to get away from the future war in Europe or whatever. So this is or post-war. He's like a legit Argentine player. I think he was probably living, you know, for a long time. Relatively long time. He probably outlived Geller, I'm not sure. Okay, E4, C5. I think he was alive in my time. Longer than Geller. Knight F3. D6. I'm afraid of Bishop B5 check. All legit Argentinians have Italian surnames, right? Well, no, that's true. Like half of Argentina has Italian surnames. I mean, Argentina's like the United States, right? I mean, how many people are Native Americans? You know, what percentage of... Seriously, Nafidov. What percentage of Argentinians are Native Americans? Well, it's probably slightly higher than in North America, because in North America, we probably killed even more of the natives. But they were more systematically wiped out in North America than in South America, I would assume. You know, they're hiding in the jungle and stuff, more likely. Argentina, not really a jungle country, but anyways, yes, it's true though. Most people are like second generation. It's the same in New Jersey, to be honest. What's the difference between New Jersey and Argentina? I mean, half the population is Italian. What are we talking about here? Very little difference between Italians in New Jersey and Argentinian Italians. Plus, they're getting a bailout from Donald Trump of $40 billion for their crazy president. with the messed up hair. No way I'm giving that guy $40 billion, dude. Okay, knight f3, d6, d4. He's a so-called economist, by the way. I already told you guys the story about my Argentinian economics professor. It was like microeconomics 101 or something. He was from Argentina. He was telling us how bad it was back then, and it still hasn't gotten any better. What an economist. All right, so c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3, a6. And then Geller, normally, we've seen playing the quiet, Obsensky variation. Geller also did he play a third line? I'm thinking against the Najdorf. Maybe not. He might have played g3. I'm not sure. But a lot of bishop e2. And bishop g5, of course, it's 1955. So this is going to become like the main line. Or maybe already was. Like Spassky always played bishop g5, right? I think of Spassky when I see this. But the Soviets were very famous for this variation. That's where you have like all these guys playing the same exact position. The three Soviet grandmasters at the same time. So bishop g5. The thing about bishop g5, though, that's always for me interesting is that is White's good bishop. So on the other hand, White doesn't necessarily want to trade that bishop off. You have a central pawn based on white squares. And I think that players in general don't think enough about color. There's only two color complexes you have to worry about. So dark squares and white squares. Light meat and dark meat. I mean, if you trade this bishop off, you have a lot of weaknesses on the dark squares. Same in the rouser. Obviously. The light square bishop, it's much easier to give that piece up because you have white square pawns, no problem, trading off your white square bishop. But your good bishop, this is kind of a bluff, right? Black plays e6, and now f4, which makes sense because we now start placing pawns on dark squares. If we're going to, in some variations, give up our dark square bishop. Am I crazy or did... Yeah, I'm crazy. I'm thinking of the classical. All right. So, in the classical, Nesmedina would do like g3. So f4, and now the queen b6 is the poison pawn variation. Bobby Fischer's favorite. And I don't know where that stood at this time, right? Theoretically. But now, Vachier, Legrave, and a lot of people are doing the delayed, I don't know if they call it that, but the delayed poison pawn variation with queen b6. I don't really understand why it's better to chase that bishop back to h4 when it kind of protects the f2 square, but it's just different. It's just different, slightly different. That was not known until, or not popular until recently. So Pano plays the safe move, right? Bishop e7. You guys know that I'm playing this like so-called Kraken, right? Well, there's a lot of similarity with the Kraken. I mean, you have these pawns kind of like a hedgehog, and it's a little bit passive, but it has a lot of like sort of pent up energy. And honestly, there's no pin anymore. But Black's one drawback of this bishop e7 is that it is a bit on the passive side. So queen b6 is more aggressive. What other options does Black have? Knight on bd7. You can definitely play knight on b7. And I know Gelfand and others have played queen c7. which is also, you know, allowing the double pawns like a rouser. But anyways, all right. So like solid passive line. White plays queen f3, so he can castle. And now black plays h6, and this is the move that has the best score. I'll tell you what, though, if you look at those statistics, I mean, that's not a variation I really want to be playing with black. White's score overall is like 39 to 23. That's almost 2-1. I mean, we're not in good shape here statistically. So it's no wonder that Fischer like queen b6. But I guess Bachier has analyzed this pretty in depth. But even knight on bd7 has a way better score. Queen c7 has a plus score. Oh my god. So I think this is quite passive. It's the most common move because people are inherently lazy. Queen f3. Maybe Bobby Fischer knew something. Not playing the lame bishop e7. Queen f3, and now h6. And so here's the thing. If you give up your bishop, what do you get for it? Time? Money? You could give up the bishop, but you have to make sure that your dark squares are covered. So if we take here, black takes to the bishop. Now, we have time, and we have some tactics like maybe e5 or in a castle, threatening e5. But white doesn't have any real honest-to-goodness attack yet. If white had all the time in the world, or maybe e5 immediately, if white had an extra move, or all the time in the world, white would have something, but you can't. You can't give up bishop for nothing. It's a bluff, okay? Bishop h4. And so now the question is, yeah, Pulugievsky, I have his book coming, or it's here already, or maybe I gave it to Mr. Coffee. I thought I brought, you know, the books are so heavy to ship over. So Pulugievsky wrote this book, I think Grandmaster Preparation, where he does like really in-depth analysis of the black side of the Najdorf, or really both sides of the Najdorf. And Pulugievsky was the big Najdorf expert, and you know, they had a tournament in Argentina in his memory, in like 1991 or 1992, or maybe it was even as late as 94. I don't remember. But it's funny that in the Pulugievsky tournament, there were so many games where black was playing like g5 and winning control of the e5. It was a thematic Sicilian tournament. I think like Salov won the tournament or something, but it was, this is the idea. If you play g5, you can get control of the e5 square as a long-term outpost. So here, and then, you know, I would think like even g6, but it doesn't work in this position because of check. So knight e6, Jigalko. Interestingly, there's no Gergiev Walter Brown, 1971. This is like a big draw or something, I don't know. So f takes g5, knight d7. Oh, this actually happened in this game, okay. So I think it's been worked out to, it's probably a draw. But this time it maybe wasn't, you know, I think there weren't any computers back in 1955. Maybe I had like a time machine or something. g6 doesn't work. So this is a move. Shabalov. Judging by the players playing this with white, I guess it's not very good. You could play like bishop g3. Leonid Stein and Li Chao. That's not a bad company to be in. But anyway, this is the sharpest. F takes e6, queen h5 check, king f8. Yeah, now an amazing move. Does this hold up? It probably holds up. Yeah, it holds up. It's the only good move for white. So this is not a draw, actually. It looks like it's just better for white. Black has another alternative somewhere. Literally. Yeah, the computer likes that queen h5 as well. So the whole variation seems dubious for black at the end of the day. So this is important. G5 is dubious. And this is the best he can do. Takes, or takes knight d7, takes, check, king f8, bishop b5. And now rook h7. Such an amazing, variation to have studied before the age of computers. I guess the bishop here plays a role, with the e8. So only move for black that holds is rook h7. So we can see top level games: Zhigalko Farley, draw; Balagnegi, draw; Korneev versus Cheparinov, draw; 1981, Kupraychik, Mikhail Chisin, draw; Shabalov winning. He's a big fan of these sharp lines of the Najdorf. Balagchava won another game. Naidich won another game. But black has held in quite a few games. After rook h7, castle's castle kingside check, king g8, g6. So this has all been analyzed to death. Rook g7. When you see this and you're like, wait, there's no Gelfand games. There's no games by like Vacher Legrave. I think we're in a bad place. If this is like sharp Najdorf theory, move 15, and there's none of the top Najdorf players in the last, 20 years, we're in trouble. Yeah, that's the one. Exactly, Rengaui. I think it might be the same variation, but it might just be one that's similar. There are more than one variation like this with G5. I'm not certain it's the same one. It probably is, though. Once Lapshin was talking about this at the U.S. Championship back in 2003, and I had never really studied the Najdorf because it always intimidated me. I just said it's not worth my time. It's too complex to spend a lifetime studying this. But he was talking about that story, yeah. So, yeah, but it looks like rook h7 is seriously the only move that holds. Well, we'll see. Knight e5 is close. So, really interesting that, first of all, this is the problem with Lichess. Why is a key game like that Geller played in 1955 not in the database? They need to do better with the older games. It's not just 1955. I mean, yesterday I analyzed a game by Larson from the 1964 Candidates Championship, or Interzonal. The strongest tournament of the year of 1964. With 4 world champions or 3 world champions in the field. And Larson Spassky isn't in. You see games from the 60s. I've seen games from the 60s. Probably even 50s, but not before that. But I mean, I'm saying at least the World Championship cycle. You should have the games from. This was 1964 Interzonal tournament. That's 50 years ago, but it's practically the World Championship, so it should be in there. Anyways, bishop g3. Now, there's only one game this actually happened. Unbelievable. And that's from 2007. That's incredible. But this is what the problem with the Najdorf. You can't play the Najdorf and not know what you're doing. Look at black's pieces. Chess is easy when your opponent doesn't develop their pieces off the back rank. Now, rook h7 is the best move. Anton Shmoev. Well, that's a grandmaster. Bishop takes e5, d takes e5, rook d1, best. And now knight d7. And apparently this was the only chance. But so hard to defend here for black. Why put yourself through that kind of torture? Black, first of all, bishop e7 is very passive. Second of all, g5, not a safe move. But again, this was 1955. So, no computers. Castles, king e7. This loses. Everything loses, actually. So everything loses after bishop g5. The most important move is bishop b5, and it's the only good move for white. And Geller, I guess, he may have invented this move. So, 95, bishop g3, rook h7. No, bishop g5. Preventing castling queenside doesn't save black. We just castle kingside. King e7, and now take. And now check. King h1. D takes e5. Oof. Queen f7. And now king d8 or king d6. It's not so easy to checkmate black on the dark squares. So he goes d6. Rook d1 check. And so king c5 allows knight a4 check. Yeah, so he could go to d8 as well. Why not d8? Okay, the point is it doesn't matter because he's still gonna not be able to defend against this threat. On rook d7, king c8 maybe. Could last a few more moves. So bishop takes d7. Whatever. It's totally over. Here, he's got to give up the queen. And it's made anyway. Very beautiful. e5 check. You almost wonder, could Geller have analyzed this far at home? Nah, come on. e5 check. Queen c7 check. Knight c6. And bishop takes c6. So now apparently it's mate in 4. And Asterbait would have found it easy. After d takes c, bishop takes b7 check, king somewhere, queen c6 check, king somewhere, queen c5 check, king a4, and now b3 mate. Always mate with lowest form of life. Geller is quite extraordinary, has won his first prize brilliance in a field chocked with brilliance, prize winners, in 1949. This was 1955. Still relatively early. Göteborg Interzonal. So it's funny, the Lichess Opening Explorer missing like key interzonal tournaments. They should at least have those. Anyway, I don't really like chess-base, so I would recommend investing in some kind of open source database program. They exist. Various open source chess database programs out there. All right, guys, we're gonna be back tomorrow. I'm gonna come by and do some blitz with the viewers, hopefully around midday, for a couple hours, and then our Sunday simul, and then I'm off to the World Senior. So, guys, don't forget to donate. We're up to $24.25, but you're still welcome to donate for a couple more days. I'm going to the World Senior on Monday. Thanks for all your support.